the quality items for quality systems, there's two aspects to quality with the QMS system. There's the proactive and the reactive, and the closed loop is to come back around whenever you have a quality issue, to close the loop back to the proactive quality so it doesn't happen again. So that's what we're going to take a look at quick today. So in the quality, so just to let you know, the items, again, they're going to look like any other items in ARIS Innovator as we've seen before. So you have the ability to search for individual items. Like if I needed to only find all the audits that are currently in place, I would be able to do that. If I needed to go see all the deviations we currently have going, I could do that and see what state they're in. Almost all of the quality items have workflow associated with them, which we'll take a look at a few and just show you that, you know, the out of the box, as you download behavior, there's certain inherent workflows and life cycles. If they don't match your particular quality workflows, approvals, players, if you will, you'd be able to configure that just like you could any other item in ARIS Innovator. So we're going to do two things first. We're going to take a look at an existing corrective action plan, and then we're going to actually make one from scratch if we have time, which I'm sure we probably will since I talk really fast. So buckle up. All right. So again, just real quick. So every item has workflow with the exception of a cause, the actual action plan we're looking at here, and audit findings. Everything else is going to have workflow, so that there are going to be things showing up here in basket, which I'll show you as well. But this is a corrective action plan. So as we saw from the slide that Dave presented, the corrective action plan is kind of the umbrella item type, which brings together all the things happening with a particular quality plan, which includes, the plan includes the things that made us have a plan, which are the events, then what we're doing to contain it, the analysis, corrective actions, and preventative actions. Just to point out real quick the things that we're leveraging here, same thing as we've seen with other demos. If you've been lucky enough to sit in on one that includes item types that have visual collaboration associated with them, I do have the ability to view the items that are related, the documents. So this document happens to be the actual 5 whys document that's on the analysis item type. So again, with the visual collaboration, it's on the actual analysis item type, but I don't have to navigate down to it to be able to quickly visualize that. And again, I also have the ability to see that there's a image that's related to the non-conformance, right? So we had a problem with a fan, somebody took a picture with their tablet, with their phone, whatever the case may be, and that's actually linked to the root cause analysis item. So as we look at the corrective action plan itself, you can see here again, there are events that happened. The PR is the same PR that's used with the PE, the product engineering CM2 problem report. So this is no different than a problem report that you would see in anywhere else in ARIS Innovator. So there's a problem. The problem report form itself is pretty elaborate from a standpoint of radio buttons, everything associated with that. You've got the affected item itself. Somebody reported a problem, something was happening. The customer's reporting problems in the field with overheating, and somebody actually initiated an ECO. But again, that's the problem report. So there, you can see here there was 2 quality events that actually initiated this particular corrective action plan. There was a non-conformance, there was a buckling on the extruder fan material, and then there's also a problem report reported from customers themselves. Now again, you can dive down into each one. Again, they all have their individual workflows. So if we looked at the non-conformance and we viewed at the workflow itself, you would see that the non-conformance is moving through a workflow, you know, where it currently is. You could see who signed off on it so far to get it where it is. And you can see here that it went from Mike Miller to Terry Adams and any comments that they made. Again, this is the same workflow engine that you're going to get, just we made some assumptions on what NCRs might look like for a workflow, and it's 100% configurable. If you're saying to yourself, she's a mad woman, we'd never do a workflow like that for non-conformance. So again, I'm going to lock this corrective action plan actually and show you that obviously, just like with any other behavior ARIS Innovator, there's an ability to relate this corrective action plan. Again, we made the assumption that the 3 types of events that might result in a corrective action plan being initiated are non-conformance reports, audit findings, and problem reports, right? So if you actually want to link an audit finding and put it, actually make it part of this corrective action plan, it's just as simple as saying I want to either create new or select an existing audit finding and add it to this corrective action plan. If I look at the containment items, again, the assumption we've made, which is totally up to you to use or not, is that there's purge notices, ship notices, and if you looked here, the additional item type is a hold notice that could be on there. Again, the containment from a standpoint of a quality issue is what do we immediately have to do to stop this particular quality problem from getting bigger or stop in its tracks, whatever the case may be. Analysis. So the analysis, there's 3 that we assume that people are going to want to do. Again, assumptions, that there can be fishbone analysis, but they've all got a root cause. There can be a fishbone analysis. There, as far as the documentation of the analysis, is fishbone. We also have 5 whys as well as a fault tree, and I can show you those as well. Let's dive into the root cause analysis real quick. So when I look at the analysis itself, as I mentioned before, there can be a document associated with it, right? So there's an actual, this case there is the 5 whys. We already saw this 5 whys before. There's a 5 whys document, but then there's also the actual cause item itself. So this is the actual cause. So there's the analysis, then there's the actual cause item type. This cause item type is going to allow us to link back. These are the same causes that show up in our design quality documents. So it shows up in the design quality documents as well as the process quality documents, the things that Dave was referring to, the FMEAs, right? So since they're linked, it's the ability to say that, yep, this was the cause, this was the analysis, and then when we make when we link it back to the original design quality document for this particular affected item, or when we, just in general, as this is a cause we've found before, so we might want to look out for it in the future, they are linked to get you that closed loop. And again, we'll see more about that. Corrective actions, as we mentioned before, this one's got a deviation. Your other options are rework orders and waivers. Not to belabor the point, all of these items have their own forms, right? Nothing earth-shattering here. They all have their own forms. They are all linked to affected items. They also, those affected items have their own documents associated with them. And again, all of these have both life cycle, right, what current state it's in, right? It's in the in-work state. And then also, they also have their own workflows that they're working through, okay? All right. So far, this corrective action plan itself has events that initiated it, containment things that we did to make sure it's not going to keep going, an analysis to find out what the root cause was, which has been established, and then the corrective actions we're going to do to make sure that this doesn't happen in the future, and then preventive actions, for that, the corrective actions for that plan, and then there's the preventative actions for pretty much across the board. Right? So from a quality perspective, what are the types of things we need to take into account so that this particular issue does not crop up again, either in this product and future revisions of this product, or in other products as well that are similar and might have a similar quality issue come up. As you can see here, there is a design quality document associated here, and if we took a look at that, that is a link back to, if you look at the preventative action, the design quality document is that design FMEA, people call it, the failure modes, effects, and analysis report. And as I mentioned before, the causes linked here, right, are the same causes that we saw previously, right? So if the cause that we established for this corrective action plan is not currently in this document, what we would be able to do is to actually add it, right? So we'd be able to come in here and say, there's a heat problem, so we come in here and we say we want to actually add a cause. So instead of just making a new cause, we actually say it's from a reference, and I can go over here and select, and if you remembered, these were the causes that were in linked to that root cause analysis. So if I pick cause 1008, so this little blue dot here, so as I save this item and unlock it, you'll see that that particular indicator is going to be the fact that it's referencing a cause, right? So this is not just text typed in, this is actually referencing the cause itself, and we'll come back to that as well. That gives me my closed loop, and then again, because we actually had released product and a customer found this issue, there's actually an ECO that we've got initiated that's going to fix this issue. So revision A of our product actually had this issue, but we're going to not have this issue anymore. Once this particular ECO is released, it's going to fix the problems. The fix that we came up for this particular problem is that we are getting rid of one fan, replacing it with a different kind of fan, and I need to move my GoToMeeting thing because it's in my way. Right, so we have, we're going to revise that extruder assembly, if you remember, that we visualized earlier. That extruder assembly is going to go to revision B. We're going to get rid of a fan, get rid of a thermocouple, and add the new fan to it. And, oh, by the way, the CAD documents also are updated to match the change that's happening here. So, again, that's an existing corrective action plan. That's what it looks like to have a plan in total that links all of these items together. Do you have to have all of them? I'd say probably not. Maybe sometimes, you know, there is no, sometimes there's an issue or a problem that doesn't result in an entire corrective action plan. It would depend on your business process of what things require a plan, which ones require analysis, containment. I mean, every quality issue is different, and you would deal with them as such, right? Okay, so in our case, let's start one from scratch. So I'm actually going to come in. So there is a quality event. So I'm going to take my my quality event item, and I have a non-conformance, right? So I have this non-conformance, and I want to actually, so much like, first of all, let's go take a look at the non-conformance itself. So you can see here, again, there's an image associated with it. This particular is that we have a cover option for our 3D printer, and somebody has had some quality issues with the actual material itself. Again, we have CAD documents associated, you know, that are part of the design of this particular cover, and then we also have the image attached. That is what somebody took a photo of the problem that we're having. So the action itself, there's a couple ways to get to it, just like with any other action. You can see here there's an ability to add this action. So this is there's a non-conformance. We've decided that this non-conformance rises to the level to have a corrective action plan associated with it. So all we do here is say I want to create a corrective action plan. Now, if this actual non-conformance, if I'd already made the plan, so order is not important, just like with change items. If you already made a corrective action plan, you could attach it to an existing, but in my case, I'm going to create a new corrective action plan. So I'm going to enter my cap number, and we'll use that. So again, it's got a form to fill out. As you know, you fill out as much as you need to for the particular problem at hand. In my case, you guys aren't going to have to sit there and watch me type. It's quite boring, take my word for it. But the action itself, again, automatically attach that non-conformance. So you can see here we have the non-conformance attached to the corrective action, and then this would just really start the whole quality process off, and we'd be able to go through and attach our containment items as well as our analysis, corrective action plan, preventative action. Since I've kind of already gone through what all that looks like with the first one, I'm actually going to skip for a second. If we have enough time, I'll come back and complete this one. It's more of the same you saw me before. You're either going to select existing items and attach them to this corrective action plan, and they're all going to have their own workflows, or you create new ones, right? Those are your options, right, if they don't already exist. But right now, I want to make sure you understand the workflow aspect to all of these items. So I'm logged in as Mike Miller. As I mentioned, with the exception of 3 of those item types, they all have workflow associated with them. So here you can see when we were looking at our CAPA 001, it has all these quality issues. There were the containment, not issues. There's issues, events, quality. But you can see here, this is what all these different workflows look like to the user, right? So when Mike Miller logs in today, maybe he was out sick yesterday, so he's a day behind on some of these, maybe a couple days behind, but hey, who isn't, right? So we can walk through it. So each one of these workflow items, you can see here that you're, you know, basically that he's being asked to review that deviation. He's supposed to check the deviation for completeness and then vote in the workflow. So we'll just take a quick look at what that looks like. Again, anytime a deviation, rework order, all of them are going to be similar. They all have their own form, as we saw before. They have their own workflow they're working through, and at this point in time, I'm supposed to verify that this form is complete and we've done everything we need to do. So I'm going to say yes, we understand what the fan is doing. All that is acceptable, so I want to approve this particular deviation. So I'll go through and say, yes, I've looked at it and I'm going to approve it. Again, my options are to approve, reject, rework, or delegate, right? So again, just in case we forget what that workflow looks like, the deviation workflow, again, this is why I have those options. My options are to approve that the deviation, what we've planned to do, is correct, reject it, and say no dice, or rework it. Maybe it's not complete and somebody needs to rethink the way we're going to fix this. For my case, I'm going to say it looks good as a plan and say complete. So as part of that, our in basket is a dynamic in basket, so that particular deviation is approved and goes off. In this case, because it's approved, it's complete, and it's still attached to that corrective action plan. One more thing before we go on to finish out the one that we started from scratch, is that there's also reporting available. Again, if you've seen any demo of ARIS Innovator, there is a reporting engine both for administrators as well as users called self-service reporting. With the quality system, when you apply the application, you'll get out of the box 2 reports. One is the 8D report. So you can see here what this is doing is it's taking the item types that we've been looking at here for the past 20 minutes or so. It's taking all of those and putting it into a report so that you have the ability to print this report and make it available to people. It's really just gathering everything that we've seen from the standpoint of interactively being able to look at inside of ARIS Innovator into a report. The other report that we have out of the box is the ability to just quickly look at all the corrective action plans currently in process, how many are closed, how many are due, and how many are canceled. So again, those are based on the life cycle of the corrective action plans that we have in-house. So total number is 5. If you're lucky enough in a company to only have 5 corrective action plans, you're doing pretty good. World class, yeah, 6 Sigma. But anyway, so that's really the reporting. But again, from a reporting standpoint, if you want to make a new report, and the reporting, I'm sure you've seen self-service reporting, but it's a corrective action plan would be like any other item type you want to report on, meaning that if Mike Miller has access to corrective action plans, he has the ability to report. So if those reports aren't sufficient for you and you wanted to see a different kind of report for corrective action plans, you could do that, and we could go through and create our own report if we wanted to, and grab any of the properties that we saw. So if you look at the properties on a corrective action, you can get the CAP number, the problem description, severity. Maybe you want to do a report on severities, and then also you want to go down to the analysis item and see what type of analysis was done and the description of it, and add that to the report. And problem description, severity. And again, this is just again, if the reports we don't ship with aren't to your liking, users can make their own, right? Or administrators can create new reports if you want to take a look at that. Okay. All right. So far we've talked a little bit about each of the different item types. We created a new corrective action plan. We've looked at the types of reporting that we make available out of the box. The last thing I'll do is, if you remember back to the cause, remember this low performance fan used? This particular cause is in 2 places, right? It's, first of all, it's linked to the root cause analysis that we did, as well as it's linked to our design quality document. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to edit that. And low performance. All right, so all I did was make a change to that. So what I wanted to show you is a couple things. If I come back to this design quality document that we saw before, what we'll see is with that change, so what it does is you'll see, remember that was blue before? Now the reason is because this design quality document is referencing that cause. That cause is now changed, right? I modified the contents of that cause, I modified the description. I now have the ability to lock this, and then I have the choices that I can make when it comes to it says the reference value doesn't match, right? So if you want, I can go in here, I can ignore that and just keep the design quality document the way it is, or I can choose to update the document, right? So when I update the document, you can see that we now have that change. One last thing I want to point out is that the different, we saw an example of the 5 whys. Like I said before, we also have Fishbone and we have Fault Tree. They do work with the Office connector. So what I mean by that is if I did have, for that cap that we created together, I do have an analysis I wanted to create from scratch, I can say I want to make a new 5 whys quality analysis document, and it actually, I have a template for that. So everybody doesn't have to create it from scratch, which is always a good thing, I find. And I say I want to attach it to a particular corrective action plan. We'll go find the one that I made and say this is my 5 whys for cover material issue. Say okay. Okay, so I'm not a quality person, so I don't know what the 5 whys, how they go. They're probably like a child, because. So cover material failure. Okay, why it broke. Why, oops, I don't want that one. Why number 2, it was bad material. All right, so you can see, you could go through this. Again, I'm not going to bore you with my typing, but getting back to the connection with Aris Innovator, so I was inside Word. From inside Word, I initiated a new 5 whys document, which is a quality type analysis. I'm going to save and close. It's created a new document. And when we go back to our, when we go back to the corrective action that we made together earlier, right? So if we took a look at the corrective action we had together earlier, now when we go to the analysis tab, we have the root cause analysis there, and we also have the ability to visualize that document that I made. Okay? So.
Very comprehensive 5 whys, Lisa.
I know. I'm very deep. I'm not deep. I'm the anti-quality user, no. So anyway, so that's, again, we're at 26 minutes, so we've looked at all the different item types, and again, total solution for doing the corrective action plan, bringing it back in and linking it to the proactive items like an ECO design quality document, being able to utilize, as Dave said, the core functionality of, if you already know how to use lifecycle workflow and the Office connector, great news! It all works with the quality application as well. And going back, thank you very much.